Okay, we are underway here with Learning with Mr. Neff. Here we are, section 8.6, factoring using the form a x squared. That's a x squared plus bx plus c. I can factor trinomials in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. All right, so let's get started here. I'm all caffeinated up and ready to do this. All right, let's dissect first what we're talking about. So we have a trinomial here. We need to understand it has three parts. The second degree, we'd call this a quadratic. And in this particular case here, we are now adding a first term. Before the term was 1 right here at the A, and now it's going to be a 2, 3, something else. And then we have B. A and B are called coefficients, okay? If I write with my pen, there it is, coefficients. And they are the number before the letter. Then C has another name, okay? The C has the name constant. Means it's a number. It's not changing. Okay? Now, we need to understand also one other key element of this here is when we're going to factor these out, just like we did before, we need to understand this thing right here. So let me try and explain what you really need to understand. Let's say I had a 3x here, and then right here said an x plus 5, and I like 5s. It seems to be my favorite number I pick. And then let's say I had a 2 here and an x plus 5 here. So essentially you need to understand this right here. Right here I have 3x and 2 that I can separate out and rewrite as 3x plus 2 times x plus 5. Now, I didn't mention this, but I'm sure you've already read your lesson. If you have not read your lesson, please pause, open your textbook, and read it. No, really, I was serious. Like, pause it and then go look at it, okay? Because I don't want to confuse you, and you really need to read the lesson. I'm going to teach this to you the way the book teaches it to you. All right, that way we're not telling you two different things. I think we can kind of trial and error our way to get our answers, but I'm going to help show you the way the book is a model, the way the system is more than the guess and check. Although sometimes I definitely think the guess and check is a little bit easier to do, and you may get so good at it you'll be able to do that. But here's what we want to look at. According when you look at the book, when we want to factor this now, we have to really account for that A up here, A, all right? And we got to multiply A and C, all right? The A, 3, and the 2 is the C. So 6. 3 plus 2 is 6. All right, now, and they're both positive here, all right? Positive, positive. I want to think what factors of 6 would sum together to equal the 7. Now, obviously, 2 and 3, does that sum to be 7? No. Okay, 1 and 6 does sum to be 7. 1 plus 6 is 7. So we're going to use that. And what we do here, let me erase this here because we got to break this apart first. We got to break this apart now as 3x squared plus, all right, 1x, where did I get it? Right here, 1x plus 6x. All right, so I broke 7x apart into this. You may not understand why I'm doing that exactly. It'll maybe make sense here in a second. If not, we got another example. And so now we're going to divide this into two different parts here, really, for a second here. Let's get another color here. All right, or not. So how about that? There we go. This, or, oh, I got to hit OK. All right, there we go. Now we got two different colors. And so we're going to divide it into two different parts, and we're going to pull out common factors here. So look at that first part, 3x squared plus 1x. What is my common factor here? X. Good job, right? I can pull out an x. What am I left with? Or x times what is 3x squared? 3x. Great job. Then x times what is 1x? 1. Right. Okay. Now let's go over here. What's in common between 6x and 2? Is our x's in common? No. Is a 2 in common? Yes. So I'm going to pull out a 2 now, and look what's left. 2 times 3x will get me 6x right here. And then 2 times 1 will get me the same here. All right. Oh, look. 3x plus 1. 3x plus 1. So I can now rewrite this as x plus 2 times 3x plus 1. Now we have factored this. Now if I refoil this out, I will get 3x squared plus 7x plus 2. Now one thing I want to tell you is if you switch this, and I won't do it, and put 6x here, and you put 1x here, it'll still come out just fine. All right, it would still work, so it doesn't matter which way you do that. All right, let's look at the next example here. Keep things moving in this exciting world of algebra. Right now, we have 2x squared minus x minus 3. And so now we want to look at what is a times c. What is my a times my c? Okay, and really we're going to count that as negative 3. So 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Okay, so now I need to think through here, all right, what factors of 6 when added together will get me b? Really, a plus c, the two factors, or I say that right? Not quite, I guess. So what two things can I add together? Ignore that. All right, what two things can I add together that will get me a negative 1? All right, so let's look here and say, oh, what about negative 6 and 1? No, that's negative 5. Okay, what about, all right, 2 and negative 3? Oh, look, 2 plus negative 3 is negative 1. And so I'm going to use these over here to break this apart again. So 2x squared minus, nope, I want to say plus, sorry, plus 2x, I got the 2 right here, then minus 3x. See, together, those equal negative 1x. So we're good. We can do that. Then minus 3. All right. Now we're going to break it apart again. Convenient color. Let's highlight it with another color. How about a green? Ooh, that's pretty. All right. And I break that apart here. I think it's plus negative. Okay, breaking that apart here. Actually, I don't like that color that well. What's in common between 2x squared plus 2x? Well, x is in common. Oh, and 2 is in common. So let's pull out 2x right now. What am I left with? Well, I'm just left with x. What am I left with here? I'm just left with 1. Okay, so like 2x times x is 2x squared. 2x times 1 is 2x. Then I'm going to subtract, well, let's see, what do I want to do? I want to pull out a common factor here of, I see a 3 that's in common, but I also want to be very careful. I'm actually going to pull out a negative 3 out front here, and you'll see why in a second here, because what am I left with when I do that? I'm left with negative 3 times x will get me negative 3x, and then negative 3 times a positive 1 will get me the negative 3. And the reason why I'm doing that, and this may be a little confusing, a lot confusing, okay, is that I now have x plus 1 and x plus 1. So even if you didn't quite understand that, now once I get to that point, I can rewrite that as 2x minus 3, all right, is equal to x plus 1, or times x plus 1. That'll equal, when I FOIL that out, 2x squared minus 1x minus 3. Yippee! Piece of cake, right? Okay, not really. This definitely is going to take some time, a few days to work with. So don't feel bad if you're not getting it right away. But now there's one more thing you would want to look at here, and that's if we already have a common factor here to start. We're just going to pull that out and make everything a little bit smaller. So we're going to look here at this particular problem, and I'm going to pull out a common factor of 2, if my pen writes. How's that work? My pen would write, I might pull out a common factor of 2. Okay, well, we'll problem solve here, maybe, or it's just, let's see what we can do here. I'm not sure. We might just end our recording with 2 examples. All right, if that will let me do it. Oh, wow.